Chapter 13, An Unexpected Trip,
Still no answer,
said Joel after another failed attempt at calling his dad.
They may not have felt the tremor like we did. Try not to worry. There were no injuries here,
Said Rachel, trying to reassure him.
If he doesn't answer soon, I'll have to go back.
Said Joel. Rachel did not like hearing that, since it would mean being separated from him for no telling how long. Since they had finished the interviews, Joel and Rachel kept rolling back the camera and zooming in as they watched their footage.
That is his face, I know it,
Said Rachel.
This is so bizarre. The city in the clouds, then the earthquake. It's like what happened in Indiana has followed us here to Israel.
Said Joel.
Let's just hope that is not true.
Said Mr. Kozlov as he and his wife approached. He glanced at Mrs. Kozlov and checked his watch.
I'm sorry, but we do have to go. Joel, tell everyone we wish you all well and take care. Are you ready, Rachel?
Joel fidgeted nervously with his necklace, secretly ensuring the ring was intact. However, Mrs. Kozlov caught sight of the ring and watch, noticing how their unique qualities matched Rachel's necklace. Joel put it back in its place, unaware that Mrs. Kozlov had seen the ring while Rachel was studying the camera. Suddenly, Mrs. Kozlov changed her mood.
I have an idea. How about you come along as well, Joel? You both seem to enjoy working on these stories together,
Said Mrs. Kozlov.
There are plenty of interesting things to document where we work. Not many people get to tour a large hadron collider at PRISM, you know.
Mr. Kozlov seemed pleasantly surprised that she would offer such a suggestion, and Rachel looked up from the camera, beaming.
Wow. Yes, I would love to come along and see what PRISM is all about. Of course, I will have to try calling my dad and brother again. I haven't been able to reach them since we left. Do you think I can get a plane ticket on time and everything?
Oh, no sense in that. You will not need a ticket. We have a private jet.
Said Mr. Kozlov.
There is plenty of room to stretch out and rest before we arrive.
Wow. Okay then, I'll try calling Dad again.
Joel said as he went aside to make a call.
Thank you so much, Mom.
Said Rachel. She was floored that her mom seemed to be on her side.
No problem, sweetie. I know how much he means to you.
He is a nice young man.
Said Mr. Kozlov.
I'm happy for you.
He put his arm around Rachel, proud that his daughter had grown into a beautiful, successful young lady. Not many girls were as honest and as pure as she was. Soon, Joel made his way back.
All set?
Ready to go.
Said Joel, slightly blushing.
Everything's okay?
Asked Rachel.
Yeah, they are all okay.
Said Joel. However, the confused look on his face made Rachel wonder. They all went to the Kozlov's vehicle where their driver had been waiting. Rachel barely noticed the drive. She was so happy that her mom finally trusted her and accepted Joel as one of them. Joel called Tom and got his approval to do the story for their station. Tom was excited about it, which surprised him.
You're going where?
Asked Tom with enthusiasm.
PRISM.
Joel said.
Have you heard of it before? It stands for the Primary Research Institute of Space and...
Matter. Yes, I have definitely heard about it. You need to pray yourself up before entering those charged gates. Seriously, Joel. This is a unique opportunity.
Joel nervously glanced at Rachel's parents in the car, but they did not seem to hear their conversation.
I have always wanted to ask them questions for our research in prophecy.
So you want to do a segment on biblical prophecy?
Asked Joel, wondering how PRISM could be tied to the biblical prophetic future. Poor reception began to interfere, and Tom's voice started cutting out.
Right. So moving forward, what we're gonna do is This is how it's gonna work.
Due to the lack of reception, Joel attempted to say that he would call him back and that they would have to work out the details later. He had a bad feeling about what was causing the interference and hoped that Tom and his family were okay. Joel had been nervous about meeting Rachel's parents again. Although their families had lived close to one another for the last few years, he had only seen them a few times since he had started dating Rachel. Her mom had seemed cold once she realized they were a couple, so it was both a surprise and a relief for her to welcome him on the trip. Mr. Kozlov had always seemed okay with them dating. It was as if he enjoyed having someone to look out for their daughter while he tried to keep his wife satisfied with their business trips.
Did you know that PRISM is on the border of France and Switzerland? You will get to see two countries on the same trip,
said Mr. Kozlov.
We have several large hadron colliders now, but PRISM is by far the biggest one.
Yes, and the Jura Mountains surround our base. That is where the bones of the ancient Jurassic dinosaurs were discovered. You two will have plenty of stories to dig into out there,"
said Mrs. Kozlov. Soon they were traveling on dirt roads outside of town with desert on each side of their Mercedes. Joel felt as out of place around Rachel's parents as the dust flying around their expensive black metallic paint. Then, the car approached a landing strip in the middle of nowhere. There were 2 other vehicles nearby that were identical to the one in which they were riding, and a short distance from them, a small jet. The driver pulled up beside the other cars, and 3 other scientists in dark suits approached them. Rachel's parents introduced them to Joel and Rachel as they shook hands. They were very cordial, but since they could not speak English or Hebrew, Joel did not understand a word they were saying. They grabbed a few small briefcases and began to board the jet. Joel and Rachel followed awkwardly while their parents chatted with their colleagues. When they sat in their luxurious recliners, an attendant helped them with their luggage. The pilot made a few foreign announcements in French as they all buckled in, and they were soon in the air. Joel was beginning to feel adventurous since he was traveling to more foreign countries. The United States and Israel were the only 2 countries he remembered seeing.
Have you ever been to France, Rachel?
Asked Joel.
They took me once when I was little.
She said.
I remember seeing the Eiffel Tower and eating fancy pastries, but that's about it. This will be a different kind of trip, though. I've never seen PRISM that I can remember, only heard about it.
It will be neat to see the real story behind it.
Joel replied, wondering what information Tom would want to use about a place like PRISM. Perhaps he wondered if their technologies could escalate prophetic events.
This report could get interesting,
He said aloud.
For sure. Maybe we can convince Mom and Dad to see a few other sites, though.
Joel agreed.
After all, Paris is known to be the city of love.
He thought as he fidgeted with the ring under his shirt. However, when he glanced up and saw the flight plan, he noticed that Paris was over 500 kilometers from their destination.
Are you okay?
Asked Rachel.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Said Joel, trying to cover up his nervousness.
Let's try to get some sleep while we can.
They said their prayers together, and Joel made sure to say a few extra about keeping them all safe and their travels to PRISM.
All right, I love you.
Rachel whispered as she made her way to her recliner. She knew something else was bothering Joel, something different from what they had already been through. But he would tell her in his own time.
I love you too,
Joel whispered back. He closed his eyes and tried to relax. He knew he would have to talk with Rachel's dad before popping the question, but how would he react? More than that, how would her mom react? And his dad's voice on the phone. Something was wrong back at Yosef's place, but Daniel would not let on since Joel and Rachel were traveling.
What am I thinking? Mom was more than ready for me to ask Rachel to get married, but should we do this so soon after she is gone? It was one of her last wishes. She has shown me now more than ever how short life is.
Joel rolled over, settling the debate in his mind. His deep love for Rachel had grown even more over the past couple of weeks. He knew that he would feel desperately lost without her in his life. While absorbed in thought, sleep overtook him. After a few hours, the jet entered some tumultuous clouds, nearly shaking them out of their seats.
Not again,
said Rachel, waking up and looking around.
It's okay.
Said Mr. Kozlov.
We've been through this before, nothing to worry about.
Suddenly it became so dark that they could barely see. There was a slight jolt, then a strange, smooth tranquility, as if they were weightless. Soon the black clouds dissipated like wisps of fog rolling away with the sunrise. Then they could see the jagged white tops of the Jura Mountains. The ground below them was a lush green, with a massive manufactured circle that spanned several miles.
"Welcome to PRISM,"
said Mrs. Kozlov, and they began their descent.